and create jobs for people that need them. And we're going to be committed to do this for at least 3 years until we're able to get ourselves through this recession and we start seeing things like the mining industry coming back to fruition, the price of oil and gas starting to rise in the market, and then things will look a little differently again.
Yeah, and hopefully they will look differently in a positive light. And I'm just asking the questions because I think that it almost came out of left field for me, this type of announcement. And then, of course, we get into the issues of whether or not sustained deficit budgets and the increase of the national debt, even though the Liberals have been I thought, gained a lot of ground in pointing out the economic track record of the Harper government, especially over the last few years, and commenting on the lack of attention to a balanced budget. What is it, 7 deficits in a row, and this one yet to be told, but it'll probably be very close. So this is quite the about face.
But Paddy, it's one thing to run deficits in poor economic times. It's another thing to run them in good economic times.
Well, we've had some bad economic times during this Harper reign, though, too, right? I mean, I think that's pretty clear.
We've had a couple of years of recession, but he did not balance the books in 7 years, and some of those years were years that we had the best economic times in our history in the country.
Yeah, I don't dispute that either. And I mean, I'm not condemning the policy itself. I just don't know about the timing of it and the political motivation and how it's going to look and where we're going to spend the money. Because I know we need the jobs. I know the economy needs a kick in the rear end, but it's how it all, good ideas are only that until they're implemented. So I think that's fine. There's a couple of interesting things that I think come out of this infrastructure conversation too, and I know you'll have the ear of Mr. Trudeau, and if you're part of a government, if and when you're successful, the party's successful in October, we'll see. But what does this province get? I mean, they talk about public transit and Champlain Bridge and Toronto subways and Calgary subways and Vancouver ferries. What does this province stand to benefit on the infrastructure piece? Because that's also very unclear to me.
Well, for us, there's a lot of irons already in the fire. One, of course, is being a gateway center in terms of port infrastructure and airport infrastructure that is already being worked on by the province. The other piece, of course, is improving our services with Marine Atlantic and the infrastructure required there. We have a huge program going on now with interprovincial ferries and highways. And as you know, when you look at the province, we're the only province in Canada right now that's in a recession. And for us as a province, a lot of our infrastructure money is transfer agreements from the federal government. And, we've been negotiating deals on water and sewer infrastructure, municipal infrastructure, roads, bridges, ferries, airports, all of those healthcare facilities. All of these different projects are still a priority right across Newfoundland and Labrador. And no matter which government is in power, they know that they have to have good relations with the federal government to be able to secure funding partnership for all of these projects. For us here in Labrador, obviously our priority is finishing the Trans-Labrador Highway. It's about building stronger infrastructures in our northern and remote communities. The airport in Nain, for example, has been on the books with the Harper government for 10 years, and they have refused to do anything. This is a community that don't even have an airport that you can land in after 4 o'clock in the evening or 5 o'clock in the evening as it gets dark in the winter. And they're the most northern community. They're subarctic region of Canada. And people are actually trapped there. So, I mean, these are the kinds of infrastructure priorities that need to get addressed. Here on the Strait of Belle Isle, we have a ferry service that needs to be replaced. And I know it is the responsibility of the provincial government to do that, but even in the last couple of years, when we've needed Coast Guard and icebreaker supports, we've not been able to get it, because the infrastructure does not exist in Canada to be able to provide those services to people. And search and rescue, we have talked about it and talked about it, but there's been very little action. Now, we've committed to reopen the call center, the search and rescue JCR center in St. John's, as well as improving other aspects of search and rescue. We'll have a fuller policy that's going to come out on that as we go along. But, we will not forget what happened to Burton Winters. He's the one child in this country that is the example of a faulty search and rescue system that was not there when somebody needed them, and we need to make sure that changes.
And that's one of those areas where the federal government does play an active role. I would suggest municipal funding has to be a long-term reversal of how we divvy up a federal tax dollar, as opposed to stimulus money one time or one off or 2 or 3 times off. We just need to put more money in the hands of municipalities as opposed to 9 cents per every federal tax dollar. That's just got to be jacked up more to relieve the burden of some of the demands of the federal government and to help the municipalities. Yvonne, I always enjoy having you on the show. I've got to go to the news. I think I've already missed a break today, but that's
okay. Well, I'll call you next week, Patty, because I want to talk about seniors issues, and that's probably the next biggest issue that I've been hearing at the doors, and a lot of very sad stories with seniors. There is a tremendous need to look after our elderly population in this country, and certainly in my riding, I've been getting it every other door that I've went to, and so I want to talk to you about that and stepping up to the plate to look after our seniors in this province.
I look forward to our next conversation, Yvonne. Take care. Good luck on the trail.
All right. Thank you, Patty. Bye-bye.
All the best. Bye-bye.